insurance, like the documentation requirements and the reporting requirements are significantly higher than they are for folks who are on commercial insurance. Out of the legislative session, I want to say it was 2023, HB 4092 instituted an admin work group that spent almost 2 years working on recommendations around how to reduce administrative burden. And when I say administrative burden, I'm not just talking about like the clinical documentation that is required for somebody to start and do services, but also there's just a significant amount of reporting that's required in order to serve folks who are in the publicly funded behavioral health system. I think, and it's been cited as the number one reason why people leave the publicly funded behavioral health system. And so the governor and in this fiscal client, it is something that we can actually address and improve people's work experience. It doesn't cost money to take administrative burden away, although it will take OHA potentially doing some reorganizing in order to be able to do that. So it is, as a former executive director for a community mental health program, who is intimately familiar with like all of the steps that go into admitting somebody into care and all the 23 forms that they have to fill out. Like it doesn't just affect clients, but it also affects the folks who are providing the services. So it is a very high priority of the governor.
Okay. Thank you for that additional context.
Well, really appreciate you coming and working us into your busy schedule.
Thank you for having us.
Your agenda for this board meeting was quite tight, so thank you for being flexible.
Thank you for including us
and carving out time for us too, and time certain. I appreciate that, letting the interruption to be able to share this information with you all and have meaningful conversation.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Talk to you guys soon.
You. Thanks for coming.
Are you guys okay if we finish is it the licensing and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we finished it. So we did continue it, but don't we need license?
Yeah.
Would that be okay? Like if we were to do that, we could grab lunch and then we could
Come back and do the
executive session.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Works for me. That works. Okay. We have some things on here as well. We did continuing education. Okay, yeah, licensing exam. So for the first one, Charles Smith requested an extension citing not having or losing work when COVID started and things kind of shut down. And then it took 4 years to find a new practice location. So I think he requested 2 years, 2 additional years, or they requested 2 additional years, but requested time, we approved that. Okay. While you're pulling that up, I'm going to do the ones we approved first and then come back to the ones that we had questions about. We approved the supervision plan extension request for Sarah Burt. They needed 4 more weeks to finish their hours. So we approved that. Number 5, previous hours request, Brittany Thompson. We did not approve that. They had 90 group supervision hours, 12 individual hours. Oregon requires that at least 50 of your supervision hours be individual. They also had 1,500 direct client hours, whereas Oregon requires 2,000. They were licensed in February 2024. And so we're coming back and saying this doesn't meet the requirements enough So.
Okay.
Not approved. Let's see, number 6, previous hours requests. There were 2 buckets, Megan, Veronica, Lisa, and Amanke, Amanse. I'm not saying that name right. I apologize. Were approved. And then for Tana and Brittany, we're requesting more information. Tana had total 100 direct hours, 103 total supervision hours, and yeah, that's that person. And then for Brittany, they have and they were licensed in Washington in October 2024. Brittany, 3,500 work hours, licensed in June 2022 in their state, with 1,000 client hours and 100 individual supervision hours and 200 group supervision hours. We have questions about when they were licensed, which is also a conversation we're curious about having about like their original state requirements do not come up to where we are with Oregon, but like how much does time after receiving the license impact? So we're asking like, what were you doing? What was going on there? So more information requested there. Reduced supervision request for Christina, that was approved. They have not been meeting the 2 meetings a month, but their work has shifted. So for their most recent report, they had 8 client hours and 8 supervision hours. So we said approved, given the low amount of clients that they're seeing. Number 8, reduced supervision request for Natalie.
Before you move on, can I
Yeah.
ask about that one?
Yeah.
Will Christina be able to get the client contact hours in the 60 months? Like there's no, that's like,
Yes. Yeah.
At the current pace.
Yeah.
okay, well, maybe I don't need to worry about it.
Well, which also is that question of like how, not like do we care, but like, okay, you can see that you're not tracking to meet it in 60 months. I want to get my hours done as soon as possible as a CSWA, but like maybe their situation is different. They're like, if it takes me longer, it takes me longer. Like, I don't know the say that we have for that.
I mean, people request extensions all the
Right,
time.
that's all.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
maybe it's just about making sure, maybe in the communication that we
Mhm.
say, at this rate, we just want to make you aware
Yeah.
that our math shows you wouldn't meet it in the 60 months. And so if not, that you would need to request an extension from the board.
Yeah.
You know, just to be transparent about it.
Can you add that? Thank you.
No, that's why I was
Is
like,
that what
I
you were
just,
thinking about?
yeah, I was like, I think my concern was here we have, now we have CSWA who is working and like, is there an awareness that there's a timeline on this and you're not kind of like getting that
Mhm.
actual experience in?
Should they also include the guidance that the board generally uses when even granting an extension? Because there's a possibility they might not qualify for one. I don't know.
It's pretty rare.
Okay.
Yeah.
We try to be flexible. I mean, if people need to slow down because they need to address life, other challenges, that's appropriate. We want to support that as a board. And I mean, I would prefer that than the folks who were like, how fast can I get this done? Because that's not really
Yeah.
the intention
intent.
of the
Exactly.
licensing process. Is not to speed through it as fast as possible. It's to utilize that time to continue your own growth. So to me, this actually is someone who is, you know, demonstrating some integrity.
And they're documenting their direct hours accurately.
Yeah, which deeply appreciate that.
I
Yeah,
just didn't
they
want it to be
say-
a setup for them. And
No, yeah.
They say in their email that they're recently moved into an interim program manager role and also still doing the work of their intensive youth supervisor role. And so their current caseload is 2.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's incredibly appropriate and ethical.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Busy person.
thank you for,
Yeah. For 8, yeah, they had unforeseen circumstances between themselves and their supervisor. I think both had like, he had COVID and then had a surgery and then an emergency, a family emergency. So there's just a lot happening. But otherwise they have been meeting the requirements for the supervision reports up until now. We approved Athena's semi-retirement request. They obtained their license in 2012 at around 55 years old. And yeah, approved to go semi-retired. For number 10, Deborah's semi-retired request. Again, licensed at 49 and has been practicing 18 years without any disciplinary action. They're an LCSW in Oregon as of 2022, and they got their California LCSW in 2008 and then CSWA in 2004. So been practicing for a while and started later in life. And then the same or similar with Edna, semi-retired request. They're currently 77. They graduated in 2013 at 64 and they passed the exam in 2020. So they've been working.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's awesome.
We all like it.
Number 12, supervision plan request for Amy. So 12, Amy, 13, Damien, and 14, Nia. They were all approved and all had similar circumstances. They had updated the place of practice, but didn't update the plan of supervision. They kept the same supervisor and they had requested information and they sent the information that they were still seeing the same supervisor. Their job had just changed. And they have all since put in new plans of supervision. So we approved and was like, don't make sure you do it because there's the attestation box that was
Yes,
added in the
absolutely.
And they also submitted documented contracts.
yeah. Oh yeah. Mhm.
That's newsletter worthy.
It's in the newsletter. I was looking at the newsletter.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Worthy.
Mhm.
Reminder.
Still trying to find, well, I mean, the occurrences are like getting fewer and fewer and fewer.
Yeah.
But we're still trying to find out how to make it go to zero. So,
We're educating the supervisors too. So we're like,
Yeah.
spread the news to your
Exactly.
supervisor.
You guys are the best.
Okay.
And Charles Smith, number one was two.
Yeah.
2-year extension.
2-year extension, yeah. So going back to 2 supervision plan requests for Jessica, we are requesting more information. They're requesting a 2-year extension. They are currently at LifeWorks as a mental health therapist, started in October 2025. We looked up their previous supervision reports and they were working at, I just wrote the acronym ILR, but it supports folks with disabilities, living with disabilities to be more independent. So yeah, case work most likely, but not direct clinical work. Yeah, they had 200 individual hours, 926 direct client hours, and 8,198 work hours. So it sounds like they'd been working full time at that place. But yeah, we requested more information.
I think
That's
we
what-
should ask the board about the extension on.
Show an extension.
Oh, extension on extension. Okay, yeah, that was the question. Sorry.
We're new.
Yeah.
to This spot in this role, but this is an extension built on an extension.
Yeah,
And so
Are we
maybe
still
around the
talking-
table a little longer to
Are we
say
still talking about Jessica?
yeah, number 2, Jessica.
what, we just don't have the history of.
Yeah.
Is
You just want to
second
know-
extension legit, something that's done in the past, we just didn't have anything to lean on ourselves.
I don't think we've not done it. I
Okay.
mean, again, the intention of the process,
Mhm.
right?
Keep 'em- keep 'em-
Yeah.
And we want to encourage people to
Mhm.
continue to be proactively communicating with us, so. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, unless there are some kind of concerns around the practice, right?
Right.
Like, which I'm assuming we don't have anything, so,
Mm-mm.
You know,
right,
so
that would,
It's a good discussion, right? Like if
Mhm.
folks then are like, okay, then I'm going to move to whatever that agency was, but there is no clinical practice to be done. How are we doing a supervision plan in an agency where there's no clinical practice to be done?
Mm.
Like that,
yeah,
that's a like, what
Mhm.
happened in that, what happened in that time period where
Mhm.
was there a supervision plan? Was there supposed to be clinical work? And if they're, I mean, or were they just not working at that point? Like, are they then saying to the board, hey, I'm no longer working? Because I understand, like, if it is I changed my role at work and so I'm seeing less clinical clients, okay, I get that. But
Mhm.
if all you're doing is case management, then that's probably just a different
Right.
conversation.
Mhm. Was there anywhere else on there besides the ILRs?
For the previous places of practice.
Yeah,
No.
there's just that one.
So I'll make sure I do a reminder to the teams that as we look at new plans of supervisions, that we're double checking to make sure that the person is employed in a place that does actual clinical work. I mean, I think we do a really good job.
That's
at
the
it.
thing. I mean, we see the agency they work within, but I was telling the committee, we don't collect job titles.
Right.
Well,
Or
the
position
title's not-
description.
Yeah, and that may be, sometimes we may have to request a position description in order, some places, there's different jobs. Some of them are clinical, some of them are not. So an agency's not necessarily going to determine it either.
Right.
So
I guess at what point do we draw the line? Like
about what?
for if staff requests a position description or not? Like if they're just not doing direct client contact?
I mean, if it's unclear, I guess, yeah. Or in this case, if that's something the committee can ask for, if you're like, I'm not sure. And so asking for a job description is, most of us have fairly quick access to that. And that's an easy way to like, what does it exactly say?
Mhm.
So,
We're approving this one though, right?
That sounds like, yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
still have to ask, so in this case, is this person working in a place where their job is?
new job.
clinical?
now they
Okay,
are.
cool. All right.
Yes.
They didn't before. Understood. Okay.
The next one is Isla supervision, 50 hours from an LCSW. This is someone coming from Arizona. They had 50 LCSW supervision hours, 31 individual and 19 group. They had 2,053 work hours. They had 1,818 direct hours. And they have been licensed since April 2024. This is, that question. We're gonna request more information about how they spent their time since becoming supervised. But yeah, it just brought up a question for us of like, they didn't, what is it for? They didn't meet the order requirements, how much time?
Well, and I think one of the things that we need to be really cognizant of is that different states have different kinds of licenses.
Yeah.
And so just like we have an LMSW, that's not a clinical license.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that when we have someone coming from another state, we have to make sure we're understanding what license are they, what actually does that allow them to do in that state?
Mm-hmm.
What we want to be cognizant of is not approving an LCSW when someone actually has never had that and hasn't met the requirements in any state.
Okay.
It doesn't mean we automatically will. I mean, my first question is Arizona's requirements really that low for an LCSW?
They just require 24 months of supervised clinical experience. There's no requirement for a number of
Actual
work
hours?
hours.
Whoa.
And then of that, I think it was 1,600 or something direct hours is required in that 24-month period. So that's also a lower requirement than ours. And then, like she said, 50 of the hours have to be with an LCSW, and then the other hours were with LPCs.
Yeah, which that's matches ours.
Yeah.
The hours are, that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
It complicates things,
It
so for
does.
sure. And I know we're seeing more and more out-of-state applicants.
Yeah.
I too am interested in from the time of licensure to today.
Mm-hmm.
Like if
Hmm.
Isla is knee deep in clinical work, right?
Mhm.
Like that's what she has that much more experience.
Yeah.
I was gonna follow up and ask, like what she's been doing since she got licensed, like where she's been working and, an estimation of how many work and direct hours she thinks she's gotten since then.
Yeah.
Fill in the gap.
Mhm.
Okay, that seems reasonable. I like how you all are thinking about it. I mean, especially, I think, if there's ever a question of should we ask this or not, I think we lean on our priority is protecting Oregonians.
Mhm.
And so if there's ever a question, let's get the information, you know? If
Yeah.
that's, that, we would rather do it that way than the other way than have to then, we didn't ask the question. And now we have someone,
See,
yeah, that makes complaints because someone's been harmed by someone that we did not double check.
One thing I wanted to bring up with you guys that I talked to the committee about is Washington recently lowered
Oh,
their
yeah,
direct
that's what it
contact
was.
requirement to 1,000 hours.
Yeah.
We get Washington applicants all the time, so I don't know if the board wants to maybe like down the road discuss what they're gonna do with those people, because
1,000. I think it was 1,900.
that's on the counselors board downstairs. Just did that. We were talking about that, but
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah,
Because I think
we
we do
should.
need to start maybe
Already.
looking at
We are.
how quickly, like, do we want a timeline around, you know, how long have you been licensed in a state that has lower requirements than ours? But I don't know if today is the right time, or we just make that an agenda
Yeah,
for,
make that agenda.
for next time.
Yeah, the legislature asks regularly how our requirements compared to the states surrounding.
and our
us.
direct
So that
hours have
definitely
come
would come
in
up.
to question lately.
What do you, can you,
Like
from people applying or from the governors, like who's asking questions around that?
governor.
Governor's office.
But it's mainly due to like mobile crisis units
Yeah.
and how those folks are having a hard time gaining the 2,000 direct contact hours. So that kind of makes people leave those jobs, and it's like,
Okay. That's maybe a slightly different conversation, but
That's a different
it is.
for our conversation at the next board meeting, can you maybe, and I don't know how reasonable this request is, so tell me if it's not. But if possible, pull together like, you know, in the last year, even how many requests are we getting from like Washington license, or how many states are you seeing are significantly lower than what we request for license? Just so we have some context on like, what kind of numbers are we talking about? Because I don't want to spend a whole lot of time addressing something if it's like we have 3, right? I know that's not it, but it just gives us an idea.
Yeah.
Especially if there's been like an uptick, that also tells us that that needs to be a higher priority if we're going to continue to see more and more
Right.
folks
I
coming.
don't have a problem doing that at all.
I can also, we could even upload the ASWB crosswalk that talks about each state and what the requirements
Yeah,
are.
that'd be great.
Yeah,
I would love to see
they all
that.
basically.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Because there are some states where they have a flood of folks applying because
They have lower requirements.
yeah, much lower.
Okay.
Right, because people are assuming, because historically, once you've been licensed somewhere, it's automatic, almost automatic another. Okay. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Can we take a break? We could grab lunch and then we could come back and then go right into executive session. Kyle, I'm looking at you to say,
Sure. I mean, it's.
We're done with
the next item
licensing?
On the agenda that we put together, so certainly can do that.
okay. Well, and so for folks that are online, we're gonna grab lunch, but then when we come back, we're gonna go directly into executive session, which means we would ask you to log off. And my guess is around 30-ish minutes in exec session for you then to be able to log back in.
How long are we taking a break? So Mindy and the Abe know when to come back.
15?
Yeah, because we're just getting it and coming back and we're
Yeah,
eating.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Go use the restroom, grab some lunch. So 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Abe, Mindy, 10 minutes.
So 10 plus 30, 40.
Yeah.
No problem.
12:40.
No, like we'd be back maybe around like 1:10, 1:15 for the public.
For people, the public going away.
Session.
Like after,
Maybe like every 3 hours or
We like
something.
to
I think I started it
That's fine.
right after that.
Right.
And
yeah.
There was a lot of cases, so you guys have lots of questions.
Do we keep recording or do we start?
I paused mine.
I'm gonna turn off the
Okay.